For most of Warhammer's history, vampire counts have struggled to a degree with large, strong, tanky single-entity monsters, and of course, Khorne has two of the best in Total War Warhammer 3. Probably the best individual, you could argue. Skarbrand, no self-healing, but insane weapon strength. He's got physical resistance, armor, flaming magic damage. I mean, there's a lot going on there for sure. And then, of course, the Bloodbrute Behemoth with its new percentage-based self-healing and just overall excellent combat stats. It makes a great pair with Skarbrand. Today, this replay from Cool Umbrella. I love this Khorne build, I have to say. The dual big single entity, cheeky skull cannon, 3 spawn of Khorne, and then just a bunch of Marauders with a single bloodletter. Of course, against the vampire counts, like I said. Interesting to see Isabella, probably not my first choice in this matchup, but she can be very good with healing other single entity heroes and such. With the Blood Chalice of Bathore, has to be a Lord or hero, but to that effect we've got 2 White Kings here, Skeleton Warriors and Zombies with some Graveguard Grippins, Unholy Lodestone Corpse Cart for support and healing. Let's see how this goes. I mean, immediately I do worry. Do we have some Blood Knights? Yes, okay, so there are some Blood Knights at least. The 1 unit for anti-large, but they have a lot of targets to get through. Now, getting back over to these 2 Khornate single entities. So I talked about Skarbrand's armor, physical resistance. Both of those help him shrug off some damage, even though he doesn't have self-healing. The Bloodbrute Behemoth lacks those 2 things, armor and physical resistance, but of course has the self-healing. Like I said, percentage-based, it's quite strong now. Yeah, 0.2% per second in melee is quite good. If we actually just compare it directly to the Blood, Isabella didn't take the hunger. Never mind. I think these guys got it right. Yes, Blood Knights. So it is actually like twice as good as the hunger, and given his massive 10,000 HP pool, it is quite strong. But let's see. Skeletons against Khorne is an interesting choice in land battles, mainly because it just offers Skarbrand the opportunity to charge up his weapon strength, which he is going to do, moving into combat, just murdering some zombies immediately. Lord choice-wise for the vampire counts, well, you know, let's talk about that later. I'll just preview this by saying probably El Sif, aka the Red Duke, is the Lord I would go for in this particular matchup, but the Blood Dragon's also probably a good choice. Anyway, spawns are going to deploy here. The Marauders of Khorne are going to deploy. Marauders of Khorne are probably going to lose to zombies, if I'm being honest, depending on, you know, support situation. I mean, I'm joking a little bit, but not totally. Marauders of Khorne are quite squishy and can get outground by good attrition-style units. Skarbrand comes through, realizes he doesn't want to just necessarily sit alone on top of the Skeleton Spears. Get some spawn in there to assist, so let's watch the bloody, brutal good time as the spawn harvest these zombies for blood and skulls. Nice side-shotting breath attack down the line from Skarbrand into, I believe, Graveguard? Maybe just a stack of low-tier stuff, but even still, Blood Knights do sweep through and start to collapse this flank a little bit, dealing quite a bit of damage to the Marauders and other units, and just generally grinding some good anti-large damage, but Skarbrand gonna come through with the Bloodbrute all together. Try and maybe go after Isabella here. It looks like he throws down the Enrage. Does it actually catch Isabella? So far, not yet. It does enrage the Blood Knights, though, which is very critical. They're not able to pull away and heal. You know, they could potentially heal. I mean, they're going to heal in melee from the hunger, of course, as well, but they could come, like, fight next to this corpse cart, perhaps, get some healing in that way. The Graveguards right now just kind of biding their time, allowing the zombies to wear down that front line in terms of vigor and a tiny bit of HP as well, but definitely things are looking pretty good in the big blob fight for Khorne. Of course, the Devils of Schwarzhofen, Vargeis, I think, yeah, right? Yeah, Devils of Schwarzhofen. Red Fury buffing them up, extra charge bonus and armor piercing damage should help them actually get some damage on Khorne, and the numbers of vampire counts do start to tell at this point. I think we've got some zombie summons active as well, but Khorne Marauders start to lose out in their leadership, just kind of get ground down. Blood Knights are able to escape, eat a critical invocation to heck, also have a couple models still in melee, technically giving them the hunger, but look at that. Khorne's sword drop from the sky very quickly, deals a huge amount of damage to those Graveguard. That said, the Unholy Lodestone will be able to just heal them back, and they didn't lose that many models there, so should be able to restore quite a bit of that damage. I mean, obviously, Khorne is relying on just the blob of single entities, right? With these two very strong superior single entities just carry the day. But the spawns are also pretty important in just kind of dealing some extra damage, clearing out some of the vampire chaff there. Scarbrand also gets some hits. He's got to be careful not to get too far away, though. You see here, once the Blood Brute gets a little bit singled out, it's only got like a handful of spawn here for support. Isabella's definitely no slouch in terms of combat stats. 65 defense, 50 attack, 480 weapon strength, which is quite solid, especially fighting with support here. She can actually get some pretty good damage on the Blood Brute, but of course, the whole time the Blood Brute's fighting in melee, it's just grinding out additional value, and I didn't really notice what the Skull Cannon has been doing the whole time. I think it's just been fighting in melee for the most part, but has managed to get a little bit of damage value. It's a nice cheeky pick, I guess, just to try and prevent the... Cool Umbrella will let us know in the comments below, no doubt, what was kind of the thinking here, but in terms of just not allowing, I don't know, maybe like Gaze in the Gash spam, or just generally pressuring like corpse carts or different things, not really sure, but certainly has replenished enough ammo that it could take a few pot shots here at this point. Let's see what it decides to do as these single entities for Khorne continue to just grind it out in the center. The spawns are fighting still, but most of the Marauders are offline. Nice hit on those Blood Knights there. That's a great target for the Skull Cannon to shoot at. A lot of people wouldn't take the Skull Cannon for whatever reason, but it actually is a fairly effective cannon. Like, cannons being just good against cavalry in general. In my experience, this thing is pretty solid against cavalry. I mean, it's obviously not going to be as good as like a unit of cannons, but still, here in melee, that high armor and defensive stats in terms of replenishment from Gore Feast will help it kind of hold off those Blood Knights, not take too much damage in that engagement there. Be able to pull back and maybe fire away again. Let's see. Blood Brute is getting ground down, though. I mean, it's getting pretty close to its healing cap, while Scarbrand actually hasn't taken nearly as much damage due to his defensive stats. So there you go. Scarbrand and the Blood Brute realize, like, hey, we gotta take out this corpse cart, otherwise it's gonna continue to heal. So they dismantle it in a massive hurry. Scarbrand's weapon strength, I'm sure, yes, closing in on 1,000 now at this point with Slaughter and Carnage, up to 40%. Flat damage increase. There you go, another Enrage there being used. Rage embodied to rampage all of these units, send them out of control. Isabella, thankfully, is in the air, not subjected to this ability. She's going to charge down anyway, though, get nice and aggressive. Perhaps? Nope, she decides not to. It's probably smart at the end of the day. Another Khorne sword drop, though, as they just continue to grind out kills. Just absolutely deletes a couple of units completely there. Should do enough leadership damage to actually finish off a lot of these zombies. And, yeah, Khorne, the Master Beguilement, significantly debuffing Scarbrand's melee attack down to, quote-unquote, only 45. Still not quite at 1,000 weapon strength, but closing in pretty quickly. And the Vampire Count's army just starts to run out of steam. The Skull Cannon does a nice job running a distraction. The White Kings, honestly, the White Kings, if they could get an isolation on one or the other of these two Khorne single entities, with the White King and Isabella, you know, 3v1, that would obviously be one way of dealing with these big, angry, really angry Khorne single entities. Extra angry, but here comes Isabella, once again, as the Blood Brute isolates itself. All three move in 3v1 in a triangle. This is pretty textbook as to how you would want this engagement to play out. And then if you just had something to block Scarbrand, unfortunately, they do not. And Scarbrand has massive weapon strength, so I'm going to do my best to try and keep the health bars active so you can see when Scarbrand lands hits, because it will be pretty incredible. And there it is. Isabella just gets deleted. One more invocation on the heck on these Graveguard weapons before she goes. But, yeah, it looks like one White King is at his healing cap, the other White King not at his healing cap. Could have gotten some more healing there as well, but, I mean, starts to go pretty quickly once these single entities are soloed out, or even like 2v2 here. Not going to go great for them, so I mean, from a build perspective, I think Khorne had this. I'm not going to say they had this in the bag from the start, but what the Vampires brought, they were going to struggle. The Blood Knights would just have to do a lot. And, yeah, I mean, some stuff does a pretty decent job. The White Kings are fairly cost-effective. Blood Knights, pretty close. Devils of Schwarzhofen, not so much. Could have just been in a second unit of Blood Knights, to be honest. A lot of the Grave Guards do okay. I mean, generally the value is alright on quite a few of these units, but man, look at this. Over 3,500 damage value on both the Blood Brute and Skarbrand, which is just fantastic. Absolutely love to see that. Yeah, some Spawn of Khorne also harvesting great amount of kills and value there, paying for themselves in melee. The rest of the army kind of just falls over, but they're mostly meant as support chaff anyway. So, interesting one for sure. Yeah, like I said, the Lord choice for vampire counts leaves a little bit to be desired here. Not that Isabel is necessarily terrible. She's okay. But definitely there's better choices against Khorne. So, for vampire counts, there's two really that spring to my mind. The first is going to be the Red Duke, mainly because his ability Elsif targets lords or heroes only, and most importantly, removes physical resistance. 40 melee defense and 20% physical resistance. So what this means is, when you put this on Skarbrand, you can actually dish out a pretty considerable amount of damage on him. Not to mention he's also got Potion of Strength as well. Arguably, you know, you can put him up on the Zombie Dragon to make him nice and strong as well. I'd probably keep everything else. He is very expensive, but arguably the Bloodline Blood Dragon Lord is better. So if we come in here, go to the Vampire Lord, you got to select the Bloodline Blood Dragon. You've got Helm of Discord, which is actually an AoE debuff. Not quite situationally quite as strong against Demon Lord specifically, but still very good. Sword of Anti-Heroes for additional weapon strength, stacks with Heart Piercing. Honor or Death is just a great 10% damage resistance while he's in melee. And then, of course, you can also go Zombie Dragon and like a full, you know, decent spell kit. Raise Dead and Invocation of the Heck at the very least. Still very expensive. He's going to be better at killing things that are not Skarbrand, whereas I think the Red Duke will be legitimately better at killing things that are Skarbrand, because I want to say these guys actually have basically the same stats. If we take a look here on the dragon, if I go and compare directly, so let's grab the Red Duke here. So just base cost, no abilities or items on the dragon. 2250 for the Red Duke, whereas the Blood Dragon is 50 less expensive, but has 8 less melee defense base, which is interesting, actually. So, yeah, Red Duke is probably the best choice if you specifically want to kill Skarbrand. Blood Dragon's also a very good choice as well, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. How would you approach this matchup as vampire counts in land battles? If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.